I do want to play the video of him being taken into custody.
Yeah, go for it, brother.
Compared to the raid, it was very subtle, not heavy-handed.
It's exactly like how I told you it would be, right?
Yeah.
Didn't I tell you it was exactly how I told you it would be?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Chat, if you guys haven't seen the video, this is on the front page of TMZ. It appears, by the way, I've talked to several people who were with Diddy as he was strolling down Manhattan and going to various places. Looks like as soon as he got back into his hotel, they quickly just separated him from the group of people he was with. And they actually did this in a very, it wasn't like, hey, put your hands up, like slam him. None of that. I'll play the video if you guys haven't seen it real quick. It's a minute long. Diddy walks in with his people. Ooh, and quickly, I think these are federal agents. They step immediately. It's like they probably had somebody flanking him behind because they knew exactly when it was coming in.
Yeah, they were watching him.
No hesitation. They separate him. They separate him from everyone else. By the way, they're not wearing uniforms. It look like someone has a badge or something, but they're not wearing, uniforms that say like police or whatever. Don't even have to see a jacket. They walk with him alone. His people smartly don't follow and stay back.
Yep.
And I'm surprised there's only 2 agents. Like, Diddy was rolling around with an entourage of like 20 people. And it appears that they're joined by another
there's a bunch of
officer who,
all these guys are HSI special agents and task force officers.
Oh, wow. It's a lot of them now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now they're bringing Diddy out, and it appears that, his hand is behind his back.
Yep.
His hand is behind his back. And look like they stop him in that little area to probably like clear the walkway and make sure, they're probably trying to still keep it discreet, even though, an arrest is an arrest. Mm-hmm. And they're making sure the car is up front or whatever the wagon they're going to put him in.
Yep.
Yeah, they're holding him. Yeah. And then they bring him out. Wow.
Yep. Crazy stuff, man.
Yeah, and this is him. This is him being walked. Walked quickly. Looked like quickly to a vehicle that's awaiting. We don't know what vehicle, if it's marked or unmarked, but I'm guessing by how they pulled up, probably unmarked, right?
Yeah, so 100%. They're always unmarked.
You've done these type of things. Obviously, you've worked a lot in the southern border, but generally, what would happen before this happened, around the time of this happened? Keep in mind, there's multiple videos of like 20 minutes before. Mm-hmm. He's walking around taking pictures. Apparently, was even in Central Park early that day. What do you think was happening the entire day?
From the agent's perspective?
Yep.
Okay, I'll take you through. So what more than likely happened was they had eyes on him. They were watching him the whole time, and they said, okay, when's the most opportune time to get this guy? They probably wanted to pick him up in a way where there weren't going to be a lot of people around him besides, obviously his entourage. And as you can see, they did it pretty respectfully, right? They went ahead, just like I had predicted, and arrested him in a fashion where it wouldn't cause great public embarrassment. I'm sure TMZ had to work their asses off to get this footage. The agents probably didn't furnish it to them, etc. So when you pick somebody up like this, right, you want to pick them up in a way where it's cooperative, it's respectful. You don't want to embarrass them. And the reason for that is because you want this guy to cooperate. So you understand, you get more bees with honey than vinegar. So that's why they went with that softer approach. Because at the end of the day, this is a conspiracy case. Keep in mind, this is a racketeering case. Racketeering means that there's always going to be other conspirators involved. So they want his cooperation to get anyone else. And that's why I'm pretty confident that they went this route.
It felt like they try to save his dignity to some extent.
Yeah.
And we've seen a lot of times in New York City, like, for example, these are more local cases. But if anyone knows, and by the way, I give a shout out to Lisa Evers. She's one of the most amazing people in terms of, diligently working on news. She's a news reporter, but also in hip hop as well. She's covered these joints that usually the police will give her a ride along to the bust. And there's a lot of they just busted something called Slattery Gang. And the perp walk is crazy. There's mad cameras out there. They're letting the press know, like, yo, we're getting these guys. You're going to come watch us while we parade them out of the precinct to the holding area. It's almost set up for the media. Here, it looks like it was super discreet. They didn't rob him of his dignity.
And
Is that always the case federally?
Yeah, the feds are way more fucking professional when it comes to arrests. And I'm not just saying this because I'm biased, but 9 out of 10 times feds are way more professional when they go about the arrest. And the reason for why they do that is because typically when feds are investigating, they're doing more complex cases that encompass a bigger organization, and they want to go ahead and get cooperation. Now, with that said, I want to be very clear about this. If they're doing a roundup and they're arresting a bunch of different dudes on the same day, then yeah, they'll do that perp walk. But something like this, right? If NYPD was arresting Diddy, they would make sure they did a perp walk. The feds, they're not going to do that because they want to get their cooperation.
Okay. All right. Now, on a logistics side of things, right? A logistics side of things. I remember everyone criticizing how they went into his houses. Yep. It looked like it was a militarized approach. Shit, I told people, I'm like, hey, listen, I could say the same game. They executed a search warrant at my house before they kicked my door down. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
They came in with like a SWAT-looking vehicle. When I really asked them why, I'm like, what the fuck? They were like, listen, you have 50 guns at your house. Like, we don't know if you're going to just be willing. How do you think logistic-wise in making this arrest, they don't know Diddy's rolling with 20 people, right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe he's cool to go, but somebody might have a gun.
Yeah.
How do they think it was going to be so smooth? We didn't see any type of force. Do you think they were kind of watching the individuals he was with? You never know. Security might not understand the situation, even though they should, because this was imminent, right? There was pretty much almost a plan. Diddy knew that he was going to get arrested. How did they know they were going to face no resistance? Because this was no resistance. He was cooperative. They were soft-handed. Pause. It worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I think it comes down to them doing their due diligence, watching him on surveillance, identifying everyone that's in his entourage that walks with him. They're obviously going to run every single person. Because here's the thing. When you're watching someone on surveillance like that, you're going to identify all the people that they're rolling with. And when you're someone like a Diddy, you're going to roll around with the same people every single time, whether it's your security guard, your publicist, etc. You're going to start to surround yourself by the same people everywhere you go. So the feds absolutely identified who these individuals were. They ran them through, ATF, see who has guns, who doesn't. They ran their driver's licenses. They got them fully identified and, ran criminal histories on them. So you can rest assured the fact that they went ahead and approached Diddy in this manner, they absolutely knew who everyone was in that entourage and made the decision to go about it that way and kind of arrest him. And I'm sure they probably still did it, what's called an operation plan, which I'd be happy to explain that if you want me to. But
absolutely.
Something like this, they knew what was going on and they knew who the people were. So that's why they went with that soft approach on top of what I said before, trying to elicit a cooperation. Now, an operation plan. Okay, let's go through this. So an operation plan, guys, every single time you do an enforcement action in law enforcement, whether it's serving a search warrant, an arrest warrant, you're doing a knock and talk, you're doing anything that can lead to some type of enforcement action where use of force can potentially come, even something like this, which is, consider what I would consider a soft arrest, you should do something called where you have to do something called an operation plan, even for something like this. And the reason for that is because the operation plan not only covers what the objective is, it tells you who's going to be on the operation plan. If there's any informants, it's going to show who that informant is. If there's any undercovers, it's going to show who the undercover is. It's going to show which agents are in what position, the perimeter guys, the entry guys, the search team, etc. The arrest teams, the teams that take the prisoners back to the processing station, depending on how complex the takedown is. So. And then what vehicle every agent is using, the radio frequencies that they're going to use, etc. It details the entire operation. And actually, this is one of the things I was extremely critical of when Trump was almost assassinated back in July. The number one thing I said when I went on a bunch of different podcasts explaining this, because I had done Secret Service details as well, and I know how they operate, is you need to go and look at the operation plan and see who the lead agent was and the supervisory special agent that signed off on it. Right? And I can go into ranking of agents and that too if you want me to, but I'll stay focused on this operation plan thing. So the operation plan details everything. And the reason why it's so important, let's say there's a shooting and someone gets killed. The first thing internal affairs is going to do is go look at the operation plan and make sure the agent that was involved in that shooting was on that operation plan. He uses authorized weapon. Then they get into, was the shooting clean? So the operation plan is kind of like a CYA and a little bit of protection when you do your enforcement action.
Perfect. I do. So I have a couple of questions. I wrote them down as you were speaking.
Sure.
It appears that the men who who stepped. Obviously, they're in plain clothes. The officers, the agents. We're in the time and the land of body cam.
Yeah.
Would they have a body cam on? It don't seem like they would, but wouldn't that be important even on a for the case if Diddy says something, you know what I mean? Like these are important. So I wanted to ask about the body cam generally, especially in this situation because it looked like plain clothes. Second of all, they brought him upstairs, right? Clearly, because when it goes to the next clip, you see them hitting the elevator rather than just taking him directly back outside.
Yeah.
Obviously, we subsequently realized they searched his room. Why do you think that they took him into custody, brought him somewhere still within the hotel, rather than immediately just bringing him out of the hotel to maybe a vehicle and then getting him out of there?
So what they probably did was they probably executed something called like a consent search, and they said, "Hey, look, Diddy, we got a warrant for you. This is, you know what? Matter of fact, let's go ahead and play through this, right?"
They gave him paper. That's what I was going to ask you too. It looked like they were serving him papers. That's the first thing they walk at him with, right here.
So this is what.
Right here.
Okay.
They walk at him with a paper in hand.
Uh-huh.
And you could probably tell me what they're probably saying. And I'm like, usually with local law enforcement, they're not gonna be like, here's the arrest warrant. They just say, come here, motherfucker, you in cuffs, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think that is, and why do you think they? Go ahead.
Yeah. So I'll tell you exactly what they did. They probably walked up, Mr. Combs, we got a warrant for your arrest. It's been signed by a magistrate. Let's just do this nice and smooth. We're gonna walk you to your room, get any belongings that you might need, because we're gonna be taking you to the marshals. And we're not gonna cuff you right now, but we're gonna have to cuff you later. And at that point, and that's kind of smart for them to do that because what they're basically doing is, look, do you need anything that you need to get out of your room? And what that basically does is allows them to follow him up to his room. Because once you tell him that he's under arrest and you serve him with that paperwork, he's your problem now. He's officially like your prisoner and he's under your auspice. So now you can't leave him out of your sight, right? He's no longer free to go. So they take him upstairs to get whatever, but there's something in the legal system called right to see, right to be. So they lawfully have him and they're taking him up to his room, right? Hey, do you want anything out of your room? Yeah, I need to get some things. Cool. That's effectively consent. Now, if you really want to be safe, you have him sign a consent form when you go in there, right? To be extra safe. Hey, do you ever give us the permission to consent to search? Or they could go in, see something that might demonstrate that there's criminal activity going on. Maybe they see some coke on the counter, whatever it may be. They could secure the room, go get a search warrant, and come back and search it after the fact because they were legally there and saw the cocaine. And now they have probable cause to search the rest of the hotel. So this is actually a very intelligent way to kind of get yourself in the room, to snoop around and see if you could collect more evidence while simultaneously masking it as a humanitarian effort where you're allowing them to get their personal belongings before they go to jail. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. So it's a possibility that maybe they didn't have a warrant for the room. I also do want to ask, but that's a good way to be like, hey, you need to grab anything. They walk in, they're not gonna just let him just waddle in. Well, I guess he was not cuffed then. Oh, just go in the room and do what you want. We'll wait outside. They're gonna walk in with him. Now they're looking around. If they see something illicit, they're like, all right, well that's PC for us to keep searching and find even more stuff. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that maybe they were also set up somewhere else in that hotel? Maybe other agents, kind of monitored maybe not only his room. And what do you think that their interaction with the hotel was? You think they got to tell the hotel like, hey, we're here to do a police operation on one of your guests? Or they're just thugging it, they're in there?
Yeah. So when I would do operations, I wouldn't tell the hotel shit. I would just be sitting there. Obviously, special agents are plainclothes, as you guys can see here. So I would just be sitting there chilling and wait for him to come in. Obviously, I got agents that were following him the whole time, and they're telling me, hey, he's about to walk in right now, blah, blah, blah. And then that's when I, make the approach like these guys did. I mean, this is, textbook, soft approach, arrest, get them to cooperate, etc. You don't tell the hotel nothing. You kind of do this surreptitiously, especially when you have someone famous like that. Typically celebrities like this have a connection and or a contact at the hotel. So you don't want to notify the hotel because they might go ahead and tell Diddy, yo, just so you know, bro, there's some federal agents here asking questions. Don't come back here.
Do you think Diddy knew he was probably being followed or being surveilled Maybe the whole time he was in New York, but definitely that day. I know that the security for 6ix9ine, he said like the 2 days before the feds he really came in. It was very obvious. It was like super obvious. Like the block is just filled with different cars. It's just clear they were under surveillance, and he was able to spot that out. Do you think that maybe Diddy, who was primarily walking around, probably started noticing, I know he's famous, so like you might just think it's fans, but started noticing a couple things different because this is an operation to follow him to make sure, he's.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he might have noticed it, but the thing is that he's been at least Diddy has been on notice that he's been under investigation as soon as they hit his houses back earlier this year and they did the search warrants. So at some point, at first he was probably really, freaking out, like, am I being followed, whatever. But then it starts to kind of, that level of paranoia just naturally goes down. You're under investigation. You know what's coming. You know you're going to get arrested at some point, and you kind of chill. And, like, at this point, you can see he's very calm when they come up to him. It's almost like he knew it was going to come at some point, just waiting for the day. And it came, and he was smooth about it, and he knew. So it's a whole different thing when you know that you're going to be arrested versus when you get suddenly arrested.